Our math notebooks, and we are ready to take math notes today. So today we are labeling the top of our page 1.5 compare decimals. And we're writing today's date, which is 10/21/2020. I know you did. I sometimes like to go into Prodigy and just give you some problems that are similar to the next day's topics, and you guys are a little more familiar with it coming into the day. So 1.5 compare decimals. And if you're wondering, Miss E, why do we always have like a decimal number before our title? That aligns with the topic or the chapter that we're on in math. So we're on chapter 1, lesson 5, or topic 1, lesson 5. So 1.5 compare decimals. All right, so we have first an example on how to compare and order decimals. So when I say compare, what I'm meaning, when you compare numbers, like saying which one is larger than the other one, are they equal? So we will be using the less than, greater than, and equal to signs today, and we'll review which is which. So when I talk about comparing decimals, that's what I'm talking about, using the less than, greater than, and equal to signs. And then when I talk about ordering decimals, I'm talking about if you are asked to order a list of decimals from the smallest number to the largest number, or from the largest number to the smallest number. So that's what we're practicing today. Looking at decimals and being able to tell, okay, which is larger than which ones are equal or equivalent to each other, and which one's greater than which. So just being able to look at them and use that knowledge. So how to compare and order decimals. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of go step by step on how we determine, if we have two numbers that are really similar, how to figure out which one's larger than the other. And with whole numbers, we're really good at this. But once we get to the right of that decimal place, sometimes we can get a little bit confused. So we're going to practice today. We'll have one example where we go in depth with the steps, then we're going to review the comparison symbols, then we'll have practice problems, okay? That's kind of what we'll be doing on our page today. Okay, so first thing, this is like step number 1. So number 1, look at the whole numbers first. So in orange, that's whole, W-H-O-L-E, and you'll notice I underlined whole. So look at the whole numbers first. And the two numbers we're going to be using for this like in-depth example are these two, 212.549 and 212.541. And notice, since step 1 says look at the whole numbers first, I circled the whole numbers in both of those numbers. Put a thumbs up when you have this written down, please. And make sure you are underlining what I underline and you are circling what I circle. So the first step when we are comparing decimals or need to order them, we look at the whole numbers first. Let anything to the left of the decimal. It's not just the ones place, it's anything to the left of the decimal. Top number is 212, decimal point 549. And that bottom number is 212, decimal point 541. Okay, so 5th grade, if we follow this first step, we're trying to compare these two numbers. We're looking at the whole numbers first. What do you notice about the whole numbers in both of these numbers? Raise your hand. What do we notice? Will, what do we notice? They're the same, right? They're the exact same. So then, if that happens, then we move on to step number 2, which is if there's a tie, meaning they're the same number, look at the tenths place next. Again, notice I underlined tenths. And then we rewrite the same numbers, but this time we're circling the tenths place in both of them, which is directly to the right of the decimal point. So make sure you are underlining what I underline and circling what I circle. Put a thumbs up when you have this written down. So number 2, if there's a tie, look at the tenth place next. Underline tenth. Then we rewrite our 2 numbers and circle the tenth place. Thumbs up when you have number 2 written down. Top number again 212, the decimal point 549. Bottom number 212, decimal point 541. We're using the tenth place, which is just to the right of the decimal. All right. So, number 1, we looked at the whole numbers. We determined there was a tie. What do we notice about the tenths place when we look at both of these numbers? What do we notice about the tenths place? Emmy? There's another tie. They both have a 5 in the tenths place. So then we would move on to step number 3. If there's still a tie, look at the hundredths place. Notice I underlined hundredths. I also underlined still, just to really emphasize. If there's still a tie, look at the hundredths place. Then we rewrite our 2 numbers again, but this time we circle the hundredths place, which is directly to the right of the tenths place. There's still a tie. Look at the hundredths place. Rewrite our 2 numbers and circle the hundredths place. Remember when we spell hundredths, it's the same as spelling hundred with THS at the end. Jack P, you getting this written down? Okay, just making sure. All right, so 5th grade, what do we notice with step 3? What are we noticing in that hundredths place? What are we noticing, Michael? It's still a tie. They both have a 4 in the hundredths place. So then we move on to our fourth and final step, which is if there's still a tie, look at the thousandths place. So I'm rewriting those two numbers again, and we are circling the thousandths place. And I notice I underline still and I underline thousandths. And to write the word thousand, it's the same as writing the word thousand with THS at the end. So number 4, if there's still a tie, look at the thousandths place. And circle the thousandths. I put peppermint in today because you guys have your grammar test, and peppermint helps kind of keep you a little more awake. Ready to rock? Does everyone have the fourth one down? All right, so 5th grade. What do we notice now about the thousandths place? Raise your hand. What do we notice? Richie, what do you notice? They're different numbers. So we've had ties in the whole numbers, the tenths place, and the hundredths place. Finally, what does the thousandths place tell us about these two numbers? What does this tell you? Nope, I want you to be more specific. What does it tell you, Will? The top number is larger, right? Because it has a 9 in the thousandths place. After all these ties, it has a 9 in the thousandths place. And our bottom number has a 1 in the thousandths place. Max, go ahead, dude, with Mrs. Cummings. So 5th grade, when we are comparing decimal numbers, it is just like comparing whole numbers, except we keep going after we reach the ones place, and we just keep comparing the different place values. We start from at the left and go to the right, just like reading. Does that make sense? Is there anyone this does not make sense to right now? Okay. Now, like I said, after we did this kind of in-depth example, then we were going to talk a little bit about comparison symbols. So, let's label, I skipped one line, and I labeled it comparison symbols. I pull a star. So, comparison symbols. So again, comparison symbols, those are our greater than, less than, and equal to signs. And we're going to talk about them. If you're like, oh, geez, Missy, I have a hard time remembering which is which. We're going to talk about it. Yep. Alligator, Pac-Man, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So comparison symbols. And comparison is spelled C-O-M-P-A-R-I-S-O-N. And symbols S-Y-M-B-O-L-S. So, these are the notes we're taking. Comparison symbols. So right underneath where I wrote comparison symbols, I wrote Pac-Man. Some of you say like it's an alligator, always wants to eat the larger number. So notice I put quotation marks around eat. And I'll explain what that means here in a second. Then off to the right, I put each of the symbols and I labeled what it means. So the first symbol where it's opening to the right and our point is to the left, that's the less than symbol. Then the middle symbol, where it's opening to the left and our point is to the right, that's the greater than symbol. And then the equal sign is equal to. So less than, greater than, and equal to. Put a thumbs up on your desk when you have this written down. Because then we're going to write down one example in our notebook together before I give you some practice ones. Thumbs up on your desk when you are ready. That's how I know you are ready.
Wait a minute. Does it matter the way? What's the greater?
Yep.
What's the greater one on this side? Is it?
Then you wouldn't use that symbol. Okay, you guys just write it down how I have it. We'll talk about it, okay? Nope, I want you to write down greater than. Less than and greater than. Right here. Less than, greater than, equal to. Pac-Man always wants to eat the larger number. Alright. I'm going to give you another moment to see a few people finishing up their notes. All right. So, our example problem right here. 20 is less than 40. Now, you guys, do you notice, or I wrote Pac-Man always wants to eat the larger number up top, right? You might be thinking, Miss E, what on earth are you talking about? You can turn, how many of you have seen Pac-Man before? Pac-Man? Okay, it's like an old kind of video game. But basically, Pac-Man is trying to eat all the, yeah, they're like dots without any of the ghosts getting him. It's like an old arcade game. And so we can always turn our less than and greater than symbols into Pac-Man by drawing a line around him and adding an I. He always wants to eat the larger number. So when we're looking at 20 and 40, 40 is the larger number, right? So Pac-Man wants to eat him, so it needs to open towards 40. Now I know some of you choose to write it as like an alligator. So what you might do, if you have like, let me use, that's orange. If you have like 10 and 30, which of these numbers is bigger? 30. So again, you want it to open up towards 30, and you might add teeth if it's an alligator, because it wants to eat the larger number, or crocodile, whatever you want to call it. So either way, you want the symbol to open towards the larger number. Does that make sense? Okay. And you guys, if on like a test, you're drawing little Pac-Man for your greater than and less than, I'm okay with that, if that helps you, okay? Yeah. So, less than, greater than, and equal to. And some of you were thinking, well, yeah, Miss E, if the greater, like you were looking at this one, what if the greater number is on the right? Well, then that's saying that the first number is less than the second number. So this always means less than. This always means greater than. This always means equal to. Because we would say this as 20 is less than, because that's the less than symbol, 40. And same here. No. If the larger number is on the left, then you would want it opening towards the left, right? So then you'd say, this number is greater than this number. Yep, you always read from left to right. Exactly. Start on the left and then to the right. Great question, Yosius. Okay, now we have practice, and we have 4 practice problems here. All that you need is enough space to have, you only need 2 lines. 1 line to put these 2 on, 1 line to put these 2 on, and then put a space like I did, and that's where you're going to write the comparison symbol that fits. So I want you to write down these practice problems, and then I want you to solve them. Put in the space the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols, depending on which number is greater, which one is least, or if they are equal. When you are done, I will know you are done if you have a thumbs up on your desk and are sitting quietly, or if you're reading.
Wait, for the equal ones, are we doing equal equivalent?
Yeah, it'd be like equivalent.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, I have one more that I want to add, actually. I've decided. Just one more. So I'll add 5 more if you keep complaining. All right, one more. All right, voices off. That's the book you're doing, but they haven't been returned yet. And you guys, you notice how these problems are written horizontally when the ones we were talking with were written vertically with one stacked on top of the other? Nope. If you are ever looking at this and you're going, gosh, I can't compare this, you can always write one of the numbers under the other to then have them lined up so that you can see what's in each place. That is always an option. So, just letting you know, we are going to take like another minute for those who are finishing up. Ready to rock. All right, so 5th grade, let's take a look at these. If you're reading a book, please put it to the side. If you're working on something else, please put it to the side. I want you paying attention for this because your homework is going to be all about comparing and ordering decimals. So, our first one, we have 896 thousandths, and we are comparing it to 9/10. So, like we did up here, I'm going to stack the numbers so that I can compare them more easily. And remember, if on your homework they are written like this, it does not mean you can't stack them yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this 9/10 under 896 thousandths. Now when I write this underneath, what do I need to make sure lines up? What needs to line up, Jack L? The number places, and I can easily tell that the places are lined up by lining up what? The what, Mackenzie? The decimal point. Exactly. So I just need to make sure the decimals line up. So I'm going to write 0.9 underneath. All right. Then I'm going to compare. Do we have the same number in the ones place? Yeah, it's a tie. There's a 0. Then the tenths place, are they the same? No. Which one's larger? The 9. So 9/10 is larger than 0.896. So 896 thousandths is less than 9/10. Remember, we want it to open to the bigger number. All right, and you could draw Pac-Man if you wanted to. Then our next one. I don't know why they're stacking, but it needs to stack. Again, I want to stack them to compare them, so I'm going to make sure my decimals line up. Okay. Is there a tie in the ones place? Yes. Is there a tie in the tenths place? Is there a tie in the hundredths place? Is there a tie in the thousandths place?
No.
Which one's larger? Emmy? 1 and 324 thousandths is larger. So my numbers, or how I would say this is 1 and 32 hundredths is less than 1 and 324 thousandths. So I'm making sure it's opening to the larger number. How are we doing so far? Good? Okay. All right, now we have our third one, which I added. I'm going to stack these. Okay. Are my whole numbers a tie?
Yes.
Yes. Are my tenths a tie?
Yes.
Are my hundredths a tie?
Yes.
Are my thousandths a tie?
Yes.
Yes. You guys, that 9, we don't see anything after it, but what imaginary number is always there? 0. So, tons and tons of zeros. So, is one of these numbers larger than the other? They are equal. They are equivalent decimals. Exactly. You can just take those 2 zeros away and they're the same number. Yep. Awesome. 2 more. You guys are doing great. Okay. Then our fourth one, I'm going to stack again. Now, I had a lot of people asking, Miss E, is this a whole number? Yes. Where is the decimal always in a whole number? It's after the what? It's after the ones place. So that decimal is imaginary and it's right here. So when I line it up, I'm making sure it's lining up with the whole numbers in the first problem. All right. Are my whole numbers a tie?
No.
Which one's larger? Raise your hand. Which one's larger? Which one's larger, Layla? 82. So, again, 82 is larger, so 78 and 96 hundredths is less than 82. So we're opening to the 82. Then we have our final one. I'm going to stack this one. Okay. Are our whole numbers a tie? Yes. Are our, Jack, can you turn around? Is our 10th place a tie? Is our 100th place a tie?
No.
No. Who can raise their hand and tell me which one is larger? Which one is larger, Addie? The top one. 1 is larger than 0. It does not matter that our second number goes into the thousands place and has a 4. The 10th place is larger than the thousands place. So whatever number is larger here, it makes it the larger number. So 2 and 91 hundredths is greater than 2 and 904 thousandths. So I'm opening to the left with this one since that is the larger number. All right, 5th grade, you are going to anonymously tell me how you feel. So close your eyes, put your heads down, cover your eyes. When I say go, you are going to think about how you feel when it comes to comparing decimal numbers. So greater than, less than, and equal to the decimal number. So eyes closed. Go ahead, show me 1 through 5. How are you feeling with this? How are you feeling with this? So your eyes should be closed and you should be showing me 1 through 5 how you feel. Thank you, show me how you feel. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. Open your eyes. Awesome. Okay, I am going to tell you your homework for today. So, you are going to be opening in your workbook to page 33. Ready to rock. I should see everyone opening in their workbook to page 33. We will have 5 problems for homework tonight. Waiting for voices to be off because I do not want to repeat myself more than twice, because I always say it twice. All right, on page 33, you are circling number 1, number 5, number 7, number 14, and number 19. So again, on page 33, you are circling number 1, number 5, number 7, number 14, and number 19. Now you guys, your homework may ask you to order numbers from least to greatest. You would just do the same thing we have and stack all the numbers and see, okay, which one is the largest as you're going through and comparing each place value. Does that make sense? Okay, and if you ever have questions about that, you can come ask me too. I'm going to give you some work time, about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn on work music. Go ahead. Okay, let me end my recording real quick.